The claptrap Washington County Fair. Rabbits with lazy eyes, chickens stuck on cluck, ribbons tacked above cattle stalls offering their silken wind. My friend and I were talking the future. All robots eventually go haywire, he said to me, as we walked by the scorpion, sparks shooting from one of its arms. A man stood by it, wielding his welding torch like a blue knife, his mask a mirror of stars. But I didn't care about that. There was Rebecca, dark hair and cottony eyes, who went to another school, who called me Buster and meant it. The evening was cool, so I offered her the sweatshirt from my Mexican vacation and my arms thick as viola strings. We rode the tilt-a-whirl, the bumper cars, the gravitron to see if centrifugal force could make our heads stop spinning. It was like sleeping on a platform suspended by nothing. Of course there was the Ferris wheel, operated by a carny with Iceman tattooed on his bicep like a cattle brand. Let's see if you have the guts, he said as his cigarette winked. So I kissed her at the top, the way I threw a ping pong ball to win her a goldfish. Lots of ricochet followed by a soft splash. Her mother drove up and she slid into the car, the sweatshirt saying something about fun. My friend wanted to throw darts at balloons. I wanted to ask the fortune-telling machine, the gypsy mannequin staring into her dim bowling ball. But her hands were locked mid-omen, a seamstress whose scissors were exhausted from snipping up snips of people's wishes. A man twirled the cord like a cane while waiting for someone to cart it away. He could tell my hands were on fire. Here, kid, he said, and handed me the card I tacked above my bed for what I swore would be forever. Being an electrician is different than being a doctor of light. Thank you. The opening poem in the book is called Commander Keen. It was a game that was released on the PC in the 90s. You are the world's smartest 10-year-old, you have crash landed your ship on Mars, and you need to get 4 things in order to get back before bedtime, before your parents know that you've been gone. The locally appropriate fact is that Commander Keen wears a Green Bay Packers helmet because one of the programmers was originally from Wisconsin. So, Commander Keen. We were raised in a decade of crashed spaceships. We'd see them from the school bus. One would be large as a car wreck, coughing purple smoke. Another was small as a crushed can, glinting in the gravel. Science class was only good for answers. We learned space as a vacuum, blank as a bubble. We guessed licking a 9-volt battery was like tasting champagne. A hawk ate a snake, ate a mouse, ate some grain. And Mars stared at us from page 63, red as a kickball. It was fall. We were building a fort in the woods, laying out branches like an electrical diagram drawn in crayon. All those leaves. We kept twin imaginary robots that looked like ordinary flashlights. One was named Terror, the other was Fear. The weatherman made frost sound like a mystery, but we learned it was just the natural progression of things. Water getting older, harder, more bitter. We had a backpack filled with fruit snacks, beef jerky, and our mother's cameras. We would be ready. We would be ready for when they came. This game is Bubble Bobble. It's a strange game. It started as an arcade game. You play as a dinosaur who blows out bubbles and that traps enemies, and then you pop the bubbles and it explodes the enemies. It's very brightly colored, and you pick up things like candy and vegetables. It's one of those classically strange Japanese type ideas. It was about my wife and I when we first had our child, our son. Bubble Bobble. The world was bright as candy. I don't mean some halcyon youth, rather the October, when we were walking on the Ice Age trail. The trees shooting off their fireworks of leaves, our sun curled in your belly. I was saying something about how love is no amulet, a kiss is no magic, when I scuffed over a dinosaur bone, smooth and white as a dinner plate. Brontosaurus trampling Wisconsin, Pangea unzipping away, and now a whole skeleton beneath me locked in a crypt of glacial loam. It wasn't a dinosaur bone. By then, it was now. Our living room, an archaeology of toys, the plastic keys, the musical cube, a cell phone with 4 buttons that calls twinkling little stars. And he's learning a new trick with his saliva, bubbles on his lips like the domes in some strange spit city. I met a stegosaur at the drugstore today. I wanted to ask her about her plates, about thermal regulation, about keeping the broth of her blood neither a ball nor a boil, about how you could love yourself, your mate, your child, when you know you all came from eggs. And she didn't want to talk about any of that. Atop her head rode a 79-cent pink plastic bottle filled with soap water and the ridiculous ridged walnut. Bubbles, she said. I'm 143 million years old, and I still love blowing bubbles. And a few from this chapbook. It's called, yes, the theory behind it, at least for this particular chapbook, is that a lot of contemporary writing necessarily is often dark. And there's an old cliche in writing, happiness writes white. That means you can't write well about something if you don't have tension about it. But sometimes it gets troubling to write so many dark things in a row. So the book is called Yes, instead, and tries to focus in some ways, tries to find the tension in still what might be some happy experiences. They might be gone now, but I always enjoy seeing the sandhill cranes as they move through. And as the poem says, they mate for life. They are monogamous and mate for life, which is something cool. So when you see them and they're standing in pairs, that is their mate for life. Sandhill cranes. They stand like chessmen in the field shorn down to stubble, and soon they will slide across the troubled checkerboard of October. Early frosts slashed through by night. They are gray and austere as dolphins etched onto the lid of a coffin, as a tin bucket filling with a truckload of snow. This pair of downy candle holders, it is said they mate for life, relighting their red crowns again and again. It's true. My wife and I made our moves long ago, queen to knight, cheek to chest, bird to beak. Now, when I stand cooking eggs in the rookery of our kitchen, or I'm there reading field guides in the rocking chair, sometimes I feel grace sweep my neck like a feather. I expect her to be behind me, but no, she's ironing, the fat silver tongue grooming her clothes like a cat, while she hums a song she's made up about mothers flying the weather. My father is the only one who says this phrase. I don't know if it's a common phrase or if it's unique to him, but today, on a day like today, the title of the poem is Snowing Like Hell Wouldn't Have It. I'm not sure where he gets it from, but I always like the sound of it. Snowing like hell wouldn't have it. It's a matter of geography, my father says. We live in January, Wisconsin, where the cold kicks our chests until we wear coats blue and bruised by oil, leaking out flurries of feathers. He would never be caught dead in California with its Santa Ana winds and bikinis like strings of suggestion because he is a stubborn old man. My wife disagrees. When these nights hang on their hooks for 14 hours like butchered black pigs, she's ready to hightail it to Tucson, pluck a prickly pair of needles from her pickles. Each hell is different, I suppose. Low-pressure systems dropping boxes of nails tipped with tetanus, or pyrite, or frogs that explode into ichor on the pavement. My father plows his driveway like spreading frosting on some unhappy cake. Recently, a Jesus fish has swung onto his truck's bumper, sudden and unexpected as a sunbeam. The devil, sharkskin suit and red tie, is studying his weather maps again. My father slings a shovel on his shoulder like a rifle, revising the sudden whiteness of his will. I was telling before, I live in the house I grew up, so I've lived in West Bend my entire life. We live on a small lake there, so we bought it from my parents. And so my father feels particularly qualified to tell me about all the things I'm doing wrong in owning that particular house. And one of the many things I never thought I'd be doing as an adult is I have a snow rake that I rake the snow off the roof and then knock down icicles. This poem's called Knocking Down Icicles, which I've yet to do today. They hang like new hay forks, ready to pitch grass, ready to spike snow. The pole for my purpose is long as a lightning rod, daring in its gleam, and soon I'm washing those watery windows and shattering every one. I'd just as soon let them touch down like ray beams, lock the house in a delicate prison. But my father warns about ice dams, how they roost on the eaves like silver hens, how their cold eggs, kicking their cold eggs into the attic, where the yolks break and bloom brown on the bedroom ceilings. Water is sinister, he says, serpentine and soulless, and it'll pop rivets from the rafters if it wants to. Therefore, I'm a surgeon with my ridiculous scalpel, breaking all the bones, the wounds still weeping. Beneath my boots, the snow squeaks as if it were crying. It will heal, he says, meaning spring, meaning crocuses like debutantes with their fancy necklaces of rain. Another one about the cold, and then one that warms up at the end. Fingernails. My wife tends the small garden of her hands, weeding the edges, soothing the soil. Soon the flowers of her fingers bloom poppy red, then the petals fall off in soft flakes. The fields of my hands have been kept by a farmer with an affinity for bourbon. Where the lifeline is furrowed, you can see where his tractor veered 3 separate times. He has not yet cut firewood from the broken trees of my freckles, rotting behind the white hills of my knuckles. The patchy flax on my fingers has yet to be harvested, and the joints creak like the rusting springs of his truck. These January nights, our house is bitter as hay. My wife keeps the bulbs of her thumbs shooting in the greenhouse of our electric blanket. Lit by a gray moon, I study my hand, the hangnails standing like snowmen. My fingernails are 5 frozen ponds at the edge of that field. You can imagine a couple ice skating there, carving their curlicues, discussing what they should grow in summer. Beans, maybe. Red peppers the rabbits will eat. Or a child whose hands they will forever tend together. And then finally the titular poem. Yes. When she asks me if I believe in God, I say yes. When she calls me a liar, I say yes. I've been trying to say yes to most things lately. Another beer. A broom that wants to kiss the floor, coughing its tempests of dust. The winter light that comes in all slanty. The old pair of my guitar, which I play so poorly, it scares the cats. Watch TV? Yes. An antique tin with a golden woman, fan, kimono? Heavens, yes. Waiting 5 minutes until the taco shells are ready. Hot little envelopes of corn. Yes, yes, yes. When she asks me if I want to see her tanning bed sunburn, I say yes. And suddenly the 7 inches of snow to which I said yes are erased by a parliament of cardinals calling yes from the pines. Again, thank you so much.